Check. How is everybody? How is everybody? Welcome. As you can see, we're back on Final Fantasy V, but we're not ready to continue. We're only on level 93. We gotta be level 99. So, this is going to be the appropriately labeled most boring stream of all time because all I'm gonna do is walk back and forth over a short area and grind out as close to 99 as I can over the course of the next hour, which will probably only get me 1 or 2 levels because it takes that long. It takes an hour minimum to make any progress on these levels. That's how much experience I need. So, if I can get my headset to be right. I don't think it's right still. This part. They always go bad, this little volume thing. It goes bad, and then the balance can't get right. I don't know. Anyway, this is what we're doing. We're gonna sit. Auto battle. These slugs and these witches over and over again. Because these get you the most consistent experience with the least risk and the least amount of time. It's not my birthday. Nice try, but it is not my birthday. Deadpool thinks he's got jokes in the chat room, by the way, if you're watching on Twitch. If you are watching on Twitch, make sure you go and subscribe to Deadpool Head on the Twitch, despite his jokes. It's not, though. It isn't. I have a feeling that this is every time he shows up, every time is now going to be, hey, it's happy birthday. And I'm going to have to say no every time. And he's hoping, you're hoping, that the one time I'm going to be like, okay. But the joke's on him, because I'm going to say it's not my birthday on that day either. And people will say, well, Spider, that's a lie. No, it isn't. Because if I don't celebrate birthdays, I don't have birthdays. So I can just say I don't have a birthday, and that's perfectly fine. No lies detected. Infallible logic. In the meantime, everybody just gets to watch me grind out these levels back and forth across these 2 forests for an hour. No, I'll know. I'm too smart. I'll make sure I've been drinking because I'm smarter when I've been drinking, as I am smart now. I'm a smart guy. Hey, everybody does what they want to do. I mean, it's legal in more places than it isn't now. Recreationally, those kind of things are legal here in Ohio. I don't really get into that so much myself, though. I just like to drink. But, you know, if people want to indulge in whatever they want to indulge in, and they can do so within some reasons here in Ohio now. Not as much as Portland, Oregon. But they're finding out that that's problematic, too, and they're repealing a bunch of their stuff. But yeah, it's legal recreationally in Ohio. You can go to the dispensaries and you can just buy it. You can buy the edibles and you can buy that kind of stuff. I haven't been because I don't, like I said, it's not really my thing. I don't have anything against people that do, though, as long as you're being careful about it. Like, if I'm drinking, I'm not going to go out and like, hey, I've had 6 beers and half a pint of hard liquor. I'm going to go to the McDonald's. You know, I don't do that. That's irresponsible. That's dangerous. Same thing if people were doing other things. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't heard. Because federally, of course, it is still federally illegal. But I don't think that's going to last too much longer. I think federally, they're eventually going to Somebody's gonna have the bright idea that, hey, I can win an election if I legalize this stuff across the whole nation. And I think that's gonna happen. The big thing is I think they want to make sure there's a framework in place for if they do decriminalize it federally, they don't step on the toes of the states that do want to keep it illegal. Um, but I think it can be done because there's a lot of things between states that are legal versus illegal already, and I don't think it's going to be that much of a problem. It's just crafting the right language into the bills and the amendments and whatever they want to do it. For anybody who's just tuned in, this is High Talk. No, no, I'm not. It's just stuff to talk about. Yeah, I mean, that's more and more common. You can get that kind of stuff. But yeah, here in Ohio, it is legal to have your smoky smoky for fun, if not for profit. Unless you're in the business and you have a state-funded dispensary, and then it is for. No, it wasn't meant to be. It was just because I thought the standard name for that character in this game was Barths. Barths with a Z at the end. I thought it was ridiculous. So I lengthened it to Bartholomew. I don't think there's a. I think there's a Saint Bartholomew in Catholicism. I think. Saint Bart. Saint Bart, I think. I don't think there's an actual, like, angel, though. But I could be wrong. It's been a long time since I looked into my angelic titles and things. I know the big ones. I know you got Michael, Gabriel, you got Azrael, although Azrael turned out to end up being one of the fallen angels in some versions, and then Samael, same thing, ended up being one of the fallen angels. Um, it's always EL or AL because usually it's EL because L is not a suffix. What I don't remember the literary pronoun term for it, but it's supposed to be relating to divinity. Huh. Yeah, I don't remember the names of all 12 of the disciples. I remember some of them. I don't remember all of them. Because not all of them did a whole lot. I mean, as far as back when I remember doing churchy things, which I don't anymore. So if anybody thinks I'm going to start suddenly turning into Preach McGee over here, I'm not. I'm just, when I was a kid, we had to do that kind of stuff. And I was into it until I was a teenager, and then I got real frustrated and moved on. And now I'm into sorcery, so to speak. So to speak. Um, I do remember that Peter became a saint, Saint Peter, and he was the first pope, and he was the one who had the cross upside down. Um, there's a lot of interesting symbolism and storyline from all that. I mean, we gotta do something to get this exciting, because all I'm doing, literally, is going back and forth between these two forests for an hour to level up the characters. I was playing, and if anybody's watching on YouTube, you will have no idea what we're talking about except from my perspective, because you can't see the chat. But I was playing Indiana Jones and the Great Circle. But it seemed like nobody wanted to watch me play that. I don't know why. It's a good game. I like it. But nobody, my viewer numbers on YouTube were extremely low for that game specifically compared to some other things that I've been playing, like lower than when I play this. And even when I was playing Suicide Squad recently. Please, YouTube, don't kick me off for using that word. It's in the title. But since I've been playing the squad, my numbers were good for that. They're well within my average, but nobody wanted me to watch, or nobody wanted to watch me play Indiana Jones. I don't get why. People hated the Squad game. Apparently, like there was huge controversy. Everybody hated it. It was commercial failure. It's shutting down like next month or something like that. Not like they'll keep the online features open for people who want to still play online with their friends, but they're not going to do any more support for it. There's no more DLC. It's a DC Universe villains MMO basically, and they're turning it off. That part of it, so they're not going to expand on it anymore. But like it was one of the most hated on games of 2024. But more people want to watch me play that than they want to watch me play Indiana Jones. I mean, it's not a perfect game. The Squad has its issues. I've said before while I've been playing it on here, but I'll remind everybody. The gameplay itself is really fun. Flying around, like especially Deadshot, flying around with the jetpack and doing that. It's fun flying around and doing that kind of stuff. And the combat isn't that bad. It's easy to get the hang of, you know. But the dialogue is badly written. It's poorly acted. Like, I don't want to hate on the actors themselves. I'm sure they're good enough people and they put whatever work they want to in it, but it doesn't seem like they were directed very well. And the skill tree system is bland. And I don't know. It just has too much working against it to really have been a big success. But the gameplay itself is fun. If it was just like a DC Universe online game, it'd probably be fun. But they do have a DC Universe online, which I tried, and it's different from this. It's made by different people, and it's difficult, and it's got so many people in it at the same time all the time. You can't focus on what you're supposed to do next. I don't know. It's really clustered. It's too busy. It's too busy. But this one's decent as far as that goes. I mean, I like the gameplay. I haven't even played all the characters yet. I've been just sticking with Deadshot. I'm gonna play Deathstroke next because he's a DLC character. He's the last DLC character. They were supposed to have like 14 seasons of DLC characters, and they ended up having 4 before they called it quits. They had 4, and then they called it quits. So, but whatever, I'm having fun with it. But I like that Indiana Jones game. It's not bad. It's fun. There's a lot of like sneaking. There's a lot of well, yeah, and you know his name is Slade Wilson as opposed to Wade Wilson. Yeah, so there's a little bit of back and forth with that Deathstroke. But yeah, Indiana Jones in the Grey Circle. It's a fun game. I encourage people to actually give it a try. It's not always the most exciting game because you spend a lot of time looking for collectibles if you're into that. But I like it. I'm still plugging through Diablo 4 too, although that's kind of just grinding, basically. the once you've done the storyline for all the characters in Diablo 4, all the classes, then all there is left is just grind out to become more powerful until they release another story campaign. In 3, you could reset the campaign and go back multiple times and keep playing the campaign over and over with more powerful characters, and you could like increase the difficulty of it every time and continue to be more powerful and keep challenging yourself. But you can't do that with this one, which is one of the problems with it that I have. They did finally fix how the loot goes, so I'm pleased with that. You can upgrade the loot much easier than you did before, especially at Mastercraft, because it used to be near impossible near the beginning of the game. But they've had enough updates that they've put in the work. There's just nothing else to do but grind out dungeons over and over to keep upgrading your loot, and that's it. So games are like that these days. Apparently, they're just games of the modern era are either designed to be single player one time through, and then you put the game down and move on, or they're designed to be perpetual grind fests, and that's it. Or multiplayer, but multiplayer tends to be like the perpetual grind fest because you're always unlocking things. The whole point is to unlock new skins and new loot boxes and new whatever. And I don't know. I'm irritated with the whole gaming landscape. Every good game should have New Game Plus for one thing. Like you should always be able to replay the game with like your latest upgrades and whatever, just to see what it's like playing it as a nobody at the beginning, and then as like kind of a badass. I understand why some games don't do it, but I feel like you should be able to anyway. Anything that has a skill tree or anything like that, or gun collecting or anything like that, should let you do that, in my opinion. That's what I think. That's what I think. But what do I know? I'm just sitting here drinking my 100 proof and running around between two forests. I did, however, get, because they put it on sale again, and because I was too uncomfortable with somebody else threatening to buy it for me when they shouldn't have, that I just bought it myself. They put Death Stranding back on half price on the Xbox. So I've got that waiting in the wings. I won't be starting that just yet. I'm still trying to play the squad. I'm still trying to play Indiana Jones, and I'm still trying to play my marathon of Final Fantasy games, which I have everything but 12. I've got from 1 to 15. I've got 1 to 15, except for 12. And I'm skipping 11 and 14 because those are both online. Like, those are MMO Final Fantasy, basically. And I didn't want to do that. I don't think it's essential to play those for the entire experience. But I've got everything else. Except for a couple of the side games. Like, I don't have Type O, and I don't have Crisis Core, the prequel for Final Fantasy VII. But that's because my copy of 7 for the Xbox is not like the Super New Deluxe remaster because they don't have it out on Xbox yet. It's still PlayStation exclusive. And I think Crisis Core would look funny going from there into 7. I'd like to play it, don't get me wrong, but I think it'd be aesthetically kind of weird going from that to the other. What I am gonna do though is after I'm finished with 1 through 15, as long as no other ones come along, I am gonna do Stranger of Paradise again. I've done it once already, but I'll do it again just to kind of wrap up everything, because it serves as like a good tie-in for the entire series. Yeah, I mean it is a prequel, but I like the way it looks, like aesthetically. Um, it like 7 has the more vintage, like bobblehead looking, almost pixely Final Fantasy look before they started looking more realistic, and Crisis Core has like the fully remastered, like the modern new 7 that's on PlayStation, and that's why it looks kind of different. I don't mind that. I think that's cool, but I also think visually it'd be a weird jump from one to the other. But we'll see. I've still got 6 to play through after this before I get to that. Yeah, they have Classic and then they have the remake. I don't have a PlayStation. I'm only playing on Xbox, and Xbox only has the Classic. It does not have the remake. The Crisis Core version on Xbox is the full remaster. It's so it's paired to go with the remake. It's not paired necessarily to go with the classic one because of console exclusives and things. It's a funny landscape. And also for as far as 7 goes, I don't know if they're ever going to actually finish all of 7 in a single console generation because they're piecing it out. They're doing it in parts. You can't play the entirety of 7 in the remake as a cohesive thing at once. You'd only play it in the chapters, which I get it because they're trying to pad it out and make money, and each game is probably huge, and having it all as one big thing might be way too much. But if each one is going to be an exclusive for a certain amount of time before it goes anywhere else. So you'd play it, then you'd have to wait. Then you play it, then you have to wait. Then you play the next one, and then you'd have to wait. And being able to play the classic as one cohesive story, why would I want to do it chopped up like that? And people always tell me, no, they're all individual games. And yeah, I'm sure they're big enough to be all individual games. That's not my argument. My argument is that the story is chopped across a longer time span because you have to get each individual one. And with the classic one, I can play it as one cohesive story, start to finish. And if I can't play the new one like that, then I don't want to get the new one until it's all one cohesive part. And I can only imagine how expensive it would be initially once they did finish every single chapter for the remake and then tried to sell it as a collection. Because since each one is AAA, so they're going to be selling them like individually, like at $60, $70 a pop. Yeah, I mean, I get that it's a bigger game too, and I totally understand why they do that, but it's just, from a story perspective, I don't want to play it that way. And I don't have a PlayStation, so I'd have to wait even longer between each game as the exclusives go through. So, oh, my nose, man. Both economically and time-consuming wise, it's not feasible for me to do that. But I have the rest of them. I have the rest of them. And I like Stranger of Paradise. Stranger of Paradise was really good. It, as you play these pixel games, they mention multiple worlds. Like in this one, in 5, they mentioned that there were multiple worlds for the first time, definitively. Whereas in the previous ones, they'd only hinted here and there as the series went on. And Stranger of Paradise takes that and expands on it and shows you that yes, there are multiple worlds, and this one world that you're in is like a test world where all those things were like combined in to I don't know, test the universe and things. It was kind of an interesting but also difficult to follow story. But it was really good and it made sense because you had elements of every other game in that one, and then that leads to the universe basically like starting over with one. So I liked it, especially since I have such a soft spot for Final Fantasy 1. It's funny because when I had my Nintendo system, it was supposed to be for the family, like for me and my sisters. Oh, gosh dang, I don't mean to be picking my nose in front of anybody, it's just itching. I have an itch that won't go away. But my Nintendo system was supposed to be for all of us, me and my 3 sisters. But I ended up having it in my room and I monopolized it most of the time. So But we had games that were supposed to be like, we'd get the Disney themed games. Like back then, we had the DuckTales game, and we had the Chippendales Rescue Ranger game, and we had the Little Mermaid game because that was supposed to be for my sisters to play. But since console gaming was brand new to me, I played everything. So I played that because I would play whatever game I could get my hands on. And Final Fantasy was one of the first games. We got two games as my first, or our first two games on the system. We had Final Fantasy, and we had, I think, the first Ninja Turtles game. First TMNT game. I think. I don't remember what the other one was. I think it was that. And Final Fantasy, my folks thought, well, my dad was the one buying the games for me because he was in the know about all the games and the computer stuff. He was the tech savvy guy. He's always has been. He does like the VR headsets and stuff now. It's crazy. He's in his 50s, almost 60s, and he does the VR headset stuff. Has tablets and all this other thing. Anyway, Final Fantasy they thought was a bit too cerebral for me. It was like a bit too smart for me. Because they thought I'd get frustrated with it. Not that I wasn't a smart kid. They didn't think I was stupid or anything. I was just an angsty, kind of grumpy kid. I didn't have a lot of patience. So they thought I'd get frustrated with it. So they got it with the expectation that my older sister would play it. But I played it. And I loved it. So, that's how that went. And I would still play games two-player with my sisters, or sometimes they'd play stuff, but eventually it just came to the point that the Nintendo was my system and I would play it all the time. Over time, the next system after that I got, I didn't have another console until PlayStation 1 came out. And I had a PlayStation 1, and that's how I played Final Fantasy VII. So I went from Final Fantasy 1 to Final Fantasy 7 in like one span. I played other games on PlayStation that I really liked too. I had Legend of Legaia that I borrowed from a friend of mine. I really liked that one. Everybody always thinks I'm talking about Legend of Dragoon, but I'm not because I didn't play that game. I never played Legend of Dragoon because nobody I knew had that, and most of my games for PlayStation I had to borrow because they were really expensive. But I borrowed Legend of Legaia. I had a SmackDown game, WWE SmackDown, the very first one. Played that. WWE Warzone. I played that first before SmackDown came out. Big difference in quality between those two games too. Like, wow. Huge difference. After the PlayStation picked up an Xbox. Because those are, I think they were both Christmas presents. And then, after that, eventually I graduated and I moved out of my folks' house, moved out on my own. And I did not get another console until eventually when I moved to Akron, Ohio, when I was an adult, and picked up an Xbox 360. Ended up having to get two, actually, because one of them screwed up, so I had to get two. I think the disc drawer, disk drive didn't work after a while. And then after that I went to the Xbox One and then the Xbox Series X. So I've kept up from then. But that's my gaming history. My older sister also had one of those colored Game Boys. Not the thin ones, the real thick ones when they first started coming out in colors. She had one that was themed for Donkey Kong Country, so it was bright yellow like a banana. Clever. So I would play on that sometimes. She had the Donkey Kong Country game. She had Earthworm Jim. And I think she had one or two other games, but I don't remember what they were. I ended up, I think, beating Donkey Kong Country but I don't think I beat Earthworm Jim. Very difficult. Or, yeah, we've already got a half hour. Dang it, dang. But that's my entire game console history. And when I moved out of my folks' house, I took the family computer with me because my sisters didn't really use it the way I did, and my dad had his own. My mom didn't use computers, so I took that with me, and I did PC gaming. And for a few years, I did PC upgrades and gaming along with the consoles. I would get I would download PC games or use Steam and stuff, and play those and do mods and all that kind of stuff. I'd play modded um, Star Wars Empire at War and a few other things. I tried playing Star Wars Galaxies, which was the first Star Wars MMO, and then they shut that down completely and you couldn't play it anymore. Um, Old Unreal Tournament, Unreal 2. Eventually, I had to get out of PC gaming because my PCs were mostly used for music production, and I didn't have the graphics capacity for games as much anymore. And graphics cards were expensive, and I don't want to spend extra money on it. And it was just too much effort to try to rebuild them and replace parts all the time. So I just stopped doing that, and eventually the last computer I had, the power supply, something on it went out. I don't know if it was the power supply or what. I'd given it a super nice, high energy power supply and some other things, and whatever went wrong with it, it just won't work anymore. I think the motherboard might have fried. I don't know. But I just let it go. I stopped buying PCs. I've got my laptop over here for portability and stuff, and then I have my tablet, and I play games on my consoles. I don't do PC gaming anymore. It was just too much work. It was too much work, and the graphical difference didn't make a difference. I was always behind. It was always too expensive to try to keep up with the latest memory and the latest video cards for whatever game had come out. So it ended up looking kind of choppy and not ever looking as good. The last time I tried to seriously play on PC was when Elder Scrolls Online came out because I wanted to have it look really nice online, and that was before it came out on consoles. And it kind of worked for a little while, and then I gave up. Lots of historical perspectives on this show tonight, on this stream. Other than that, this is pretty boring. I'll tell you. Hey, we went up a level. We're at 94. Let's see if we can get to 95 in the next half hour, because it took a half hour to do that. Actually, what I gotta do, because in between every level, I gotta go up and rest to replenish all my stats. Then we're gonna go down and we're gonna do it again. I'm interested in seeing what the numbers are for this one when I port it over to YouTube. I wonder how many people are going to sit and watch me run back and forth between those two forests and then just talk about my gaming history. Because I used to play my dad's PCs around when I was doing early console stuff. I played Doom, Doom 2, Wolfenstein 3D when I was a kid, Spear of Destiny. I played the first Unreal game when it come out for the first time, and man, I was amazed. Like, it was a big difference going from the earlier stuff to that. Like, I know it looks dated now, but my goodness, was it a huge leap forward in technology at the time. Played that, Unreal Tournament. Some kids at my school made the mistake of setting up their own. Some of the kids from the networking class got together and they set up their own private server on the school's network because they knew how to do that, so that they could play games down in Woodshop or wherever with the computers down there. And they made the mistake of putting Unreal Tournament on the server so that if you knew how to access it, you could play it. And when I joined the network class, I got access to it. And at the time, like right now, you put me in a Call of Duty lobby, and I'm not gonna do very well. I'm gonna get trounced. If you put me in a Destiny lobby against multiplayer, gonna get trounced. Fortnite, PUB, whatever, any of those multiplayer games, I'm not good at it anymore. I'm just not. I don't have the same reflexes. I don't have, the time to just sit and practice all that up. And I don't trash talk. I don't care. So I'm not that good at it. But back then, Unreal Tournament was my game. Unreal Tournament, I was a beast at. And it was the last time I was ever good at multiplayer. And they would play it at the school when they weren't being monitored by the teachers and stuff. So I'd play it from the networking class because that teacher was just like, hey, as long as you're passing my class and you're doing what I ask, you can do what you want. So I'd sit and I'd play, and I would be just rolling over everybody, steamrolling constantly. Like, people would have rocket launchers and all the big, like, heavy-duty weapons, and I'd just be hitting them with all the other kind of stuff because I knew how to use everything. I'd been playing the game at home. And they would send people down from the shop class to come down and be like, who's playing against us down here? And they'd be like, hey, you suck. I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't trash talk. I'd just be like, hey, yeah, I'm pretty good. I would usually win almost every time because that was my game. And it was the last time I was good at multiplayer. And I'll freely admit that. I'm not going to try to front and be like, you put me on 1v1 and I'll just destroy somebody. I probably won't. And it's not for lack of trying. I would try. Hey, you missed a story. But that's fine. But yeah, I used to be really good at Unreal Tournament, and that was the last time I was good at multiplayer. To be fair, though, when Destiny came out, I was okay at that with group stuff. I just didn't like playing with other people because I didn't like going, like, speed running. I hate speed running, so I didn't like skipping objectives, and most people like to skip objectives in that game. So I didn't like to do that. I didn't like to have an assigned role on a team. I liked to pick up a role of my own and then let other people pick what they wanted, which is kind of selfish, I know, but I don't like playing with other people, so I didn't worry about it too much. And Destiny, sometimes that would work. Like, I'd do my thing. I would try to revive people when they needed revived, that kind of stuff. Here's a cat, by the way. He's still here, being a pain. And I forgot to turn my counters back on, so I've been running back and forth between these forests, not fighting anything. Waste of time. Stuck in my storytelling. And, yeah, I was okay at Destiny. I would do I would do as much as I could in that game solo as possible. The game, though, was designed for you not to be able to do that. People would use exploits and they'd figure out ways to do some of the stuff, but you couldn't just power your way through in most cases because they designed the game specifically so you could not do that. And not in a way that made sense. It was a way where it was just artificial, where it was like, oh, you didn't have more than one person? Well, then the difficulty's going to adjust to be worse on you because you're just the only person. It was a really bizarrely AI-driven difficulty that adjusted constantly based on whatever variables it had in its head at any given time. And they tried to say they didn't have adaptive difficulty. Like they tried to say like, oh yeah, no, we don't do that, but they got busted on multiple times, both in multiplayer and in the regular. And they denied as much as they could, and then eventually they were like, oh well, you know, we had to tinker because it needs to be more difficult here and less difficult here. And the least difficult Destiny was going to be is when you had two people, not one and not three, but two. As long as you weren't doing raids or anything. If you had two people doing strikes and things, that was when the difficulty was the most forgiving, according to Bungie. But who knows? They're a bunch of liars. Borderlands, though, you could work with it. Borderlands, you could work with it if you were careful about how you did your loot spread and things. Although the first game was punishing sometimes. Once you got to level 5, it really kicked in, and if you hadn't picked up some good guns by that point, you could spend like 20 minutes fighting a dog, and the dog would still kill you. Level 5 dog, and it kills you. But I had a lot of fun with that. Borderlands 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Not the favorite, but it's one of the favorites. And I didn't play too much of Fallout 76. I only played a little bit, and I played it entirely on private server where you could set all the variables. So I had the infinite ammo, I had the infinite damage, I had all that kind of stuff, because I don't want to mess around with it, to be honest. And then I got bored with it after a while. I built a little house and did some things, and then I got bored. Borderlands 3, the game system I think was better, but the story was flat and the characters were bad. Kind of like the Squad game. The characters overall were kind of crap, like the villains were crap, and the storyline was kind of dumb. But the gameplay was fun, super fun. So I'm hoping Borderlands 4 turns out to be more like 2, because 2 was fantastic. 2 was excellent. In 2, one of the best, and I don't say this often, one of the best co-op experiences I've ever had in a game. Because generally I don't like playing with other people. But 2, I was playing with my brother-in-law, doing couch co-op. And we got to the part... we got to the part where the robots kidnap Roland from the first game, and they take him to this dam, and you have to fight through the dam to get to him. And everything about that the first time through, when you're not like, you're leveled around where you should be, but you're not overpowered, you're not underpowered, you're just right in the middle, so you gotta be on your toes because it's Borderlands. But just it was intense. The music, the fighting, like constantly having to revive each other when you got into a bad spot, and hoping you get to him before he gets taken away, and then you have that extra level in the prison. Oh, one of the best co-op experiences I've ever had in a game, playing through that the first time. It was fantastic. 3 had nothing like that. 3 didn't have a single spot that was like that. But the gameplay was still fun. So I still play it because you can do a lot more with the New Game Plus stuff. How did you get in there? Spill the doot, you wee bastard. Don't know why they get in my drink. Yeah, Borderlands 2 was fantastic. And I went into it thinking, like, at the beginning you get Handsome Jack talking to you, and he sounds like a doofus, and you're kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to like this. This is kind of dumb. But as it goes on, that story just gets better and better, and the gameplay backs it up, and it's great. It's a great game. I played Tales of the Borderlands, even though I'm not into that style of game, and I thought the story was pretty good too. Some parts of the game were goofy, but But the story was decent, and the soundtrack was great. Great soundtrack. I did not play the second Tales from the Borderlands because it looked like trash, and it still looks like trash today, and I'm not interested. I mean, if it releases for free sometime, I don't know. Maybe I'll try it, but I'm not interested in any of the characters. Nobody appeals to me. Where are we at? We're at 45 minutes. We still got 15 minutes. I don't know if we'll go up to... Nah, we should be able to get up to another level by then. I didn't watch a lot of that kind of stuff. Deadpool is asking me for you watching me on YouTube, not seeing the chat. He's asking me if I've ever watched Samurai Jack, and I have seen some of it. But I didn't watch it regularly, and I didn't watch... Because I've got a complicated background with TV. I don't... When I was a kid, I was usually outvoted on what people wanted to watch. Like, when I was a really young kid, the whole family would watch, like, the TGI Fridays stuff with Family Matters and Step by Step and all that kind of stuff, showing my age here. And as we got older, because we didn't have cable. We didn't have any cable out there. It was the middle of nowhere. It's out in the country of Pennsylvania and Ohio. And, so we didn't have cable for the longest time. And I had, when I got, at some point, I got a TV in my room. And I got rabbit ears. And so I could watch TV of my own. But I wouldn't watch too much. Like, I'd watch some stuff on Saturday morning, like some cartoons. I'd try to watch Transformers, or I'd try to watch, like, DuckTales and stuff when you're a kid, the stuff that's interesting. Gummy Bears. I mean, that sounds like kind of a goofy show, but it's one of those shows that's more serious than the name is, and it's got nothing to do with, like, the actual Gummy Bears candies. It's funny. But, look it up. Classic Gummy Bears from, like, the late 80s, early 90s, something like that. But as we got older, we eventually got satellite TV, like DirecTV, something like that. And my sisters, because their tastes were a lot more similar to each other, would watch the TV mostly all together. Like, they started watching MTV, which by that point was starting to be shows as much as it was music videos. So they would watch, like, Big Brother, and they would watch... I don't know what most of them were called. The reality shows that were coming out. They would watch that kind of stuff. I didn't care about any of that kind of stuff. I wasn't interested. So I didn't watch it. Sometimes I would sit and watch M2 with my older sister, because we would watch music videos. Because M2 was made so you could watch just the music videos. And eventually then that became shows as well, and the whole thing went downhill. But we watched that, maybe some VH1 once in a while, Much Music, those kind of things. If nobody was home, I'd put on something once in a while, but not often, because there were too many channels. I couldn't find stuff I liked. I had been reading about, because the internet was brand new when I was reading about stuff in forums and things. I had read about Mystery Science Theater 3000. And so one Saturday morning, it was a Thanksgiving morning, because they have their annual Turkey Day marathon on Thanksgiving every year. Or they did at the time when they were on TV, and now they're on internet. But they had that, and I was like, oh, we should watch this. It's funny. They sit and they make fun of these movies, and it's hilarious. And I hadn't seen an episode yet, but I'd read about it, and I thought, that sounds really great. And we started watching it, and the opening skit was kind of like, oh, kind of stupid. And my family was just like, are you sure about this? And I'm like, no, just give it a chance. They're going to watch a movie. It's going to be funny. And then it got to the movie, and it got to the commentary, and it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. And so we started watching that all the time. And that was one of the few times I would watch TV, but with, either with other people or by myself, that I got to choose. Very rarely, my mom would take my sisters out for like a girls' day, and they'd go and spend the whole day watching, I don't know, like Phantom of the Opera or something. Some thing that they would all go to. And my dad would cook us both a dinner, and we'd do something. We'd watch a movie or we'd play a game or something. I remember the one time that really sticks out that showed that I was a teenager. I was old enough to watch the grown-up movies now. We had steak dinners that my dad made. Steak, mashed potatoes, and gravy, and vegetables, and all that good stuff. And he ordered off pay-per-view, because that's how you got movies then, pay-per-view. You couldn't just stream them wherever you wanted to. And we ordered Alien Resurrection, because he was like, hey, this might be a good movie, and you're old enough, let's watch it. And it was a terrible movie. It's the worst of the series. It's entertaining in its own way, but it was terrible. But I just have this great memory of having this great meal and watching it with my dad because, why not? So there were moments of that once in a while. Then when I moved out, I lived with roommates first in the duplex. It was me and two other people from where I worked, because I was a dishwasher at a local restaurant, and they both worked there, and we'd all gone into this house together to save money. And I didn't watch much TV there either. Like, the one guy was a TV guy. He watched it all the time. I didn't, so I usually would stay up and watch. I wasn't into YouTube then, because YouTube was new, and it was mostly people doing goofy things. It was like TikTok is, but longer. You didn't have movies, you didn't have shows, you didn't have a lot of real entertaining stuff. It hadn't diversified. But, so mostly I would hang out in my room playing games, or instant messaging females. I don't want people to be offended that I use the term females, or women, or ladies, or whatever you want to say. That's what I would do. I would message people and get myself into trouble and play games and stuff. And then I moved to Akron many years later, because this is where my girlfriend at the time lived, and I was trying to hey, you know what? We want to make this life together. I'll move out where you are. That failed spectacularly. But I had an apartment of my own. I had a TV. I don't know if I watched. I didn't really have TV. I had internet, but I didn't really pay for TV. I didn't really get TV until we moved. The next girl, who I'm still with, 15 years later, I think. Yeah, 15 years. It's a long time. We moved down here to Canton, and we got TV. I think either because she wanted to watch things, or because when my daughter was born, we got TV so that my daughter could watch cartoons and stuff. And so we don't even have the cable box anymore. We turned that back in to save money, and now we just watch the streaming stuff. We've got Netflix and Max and Paramount and Peacock and Amazon and all that other stuff. And I don't watch much of it. I watched BoJack Horseman because I got really into that show for a while. I watched that from start to finish, but that's kind of a one-time show. It's not something that you go back to, I don't think. I think you watch it once and you get the whole story, and then you're kind of like, wow, that's a trip, and then that's it. You enjoy it, and then you're done. I watched a little bit of Big Mouth on Netflix, which is probably a weird show for somebody like me to watch, but it was interesting because some of that stuff is exactly what it's like when you're younger and you're going through those kind of things in your life. But then I stopped and I didn't get back into it. And occasionally I'll watch a documentary or a movie, but I don't really get into TV. I'm not a TV person. I'm a game person, and I don't know. I was a book person for a very long time. I should still be a book person, but I don't. I find that I don't read. I don't have the concentration I used to, because I used to read all the time, constantly. I was a reader. I was a reader so much that I was reading school between homework assignments or whatever, and they'd get mad at me, and because I'd always have a book. But I don't. It's difficult for me to like. I can read. It's not like my ability to read has been impacted. I can read perfectly fine. I'm literate. You know, I was reading Jurassic Park when I was in fifth grade. But I just don't read anymore, and I've tried to, and I just don't. I don't think it's that I can't. I'm sure I can if I really was like sit and read. I just don't find as much interest in it, which is unfortunate, I think, because I really enjoyed reading. And I have all kinds of books that I've gotten that are like, oh, I want to read this, and I haven't read them yet. I've got this huge. My backlog of books is almost as big as my backlog of games, which is pretty big. Pretty big. So I should read more. I should make time out of my day to read more. But I don't, for various reasons. Oh, pardon me. We're going to try to get this last level, and then we're going to turn this off. We're going to hit the hour probably first. I used to be at the point where I could read multiple books at once. Like, I'd read one book, and I'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm a couple chapters in, and then I'd be like, oh, I gotta read this other thing, too, and I'd read that, and I'd be able to keep everything straight, and everything would be fine. And I just don't have the mental stamina, I think, to do that anymore. I don't know. I don't know what it is. But I'm gonna try to get back into it. Like, I really should. I think it's because my daughter's a talker. I don't want to. I'm not blaming her. I'm not. I don't want anybody getting the wrong impression. But I can never like. She'll spend time up in her room and she'll do stuff and she'll play and she'll whatever. But she'll come down at whatever random time because kids do. They don't have any sense of like. Oh, I wonder if so and so's doing anything. Ah, who cares? I'm gonna go down and talk. She'll just come down and chatter, 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 have stuff to talk about. And so I can't concentrate on both things at once. And I've made her the priority. She's the priority, so she gets the attention. So I'll just put whatever I'm doing down, and I'll let her talk. And people are gonna read into that like I don't want to talk to her, that I'm kind of like she comes interrupting what I'm doing. But that's not it at all. It's just she comes down at random times, and sometimes I'm busy, but I'm like, what do I do? Do I either keep doing what I'm doing because it needs done, or pay attention? And I should pay attention. That's my opinion. That's the thing. If you have a kid, then the kid's more important. I mean, if you have multiple kids, they can entertain each other, and that helps a little bit, even if they're like fighting with each other or something. But if it's an only child, you kind of have to be like, hey, you know what? This kid relies on you for perspective and for conversation and for whatever. So I drop what I'm doing and I talk to her instead. And I don't feel bad about that either. I do get kind of like, oh, I have so much stuff to do, but I don't like. I never tell her, hey, you know what? This is a great story, but I gotta get some stuff done. I don't do that. Because I don't think that'd be appropriate, honestly. But that's just me. So half my stuff doesn't get done. And that's why I don't play games during the day most of the time either. Like, I could be sitting and grinding this game out during the day, but I don't because she's doing that. Or she's got her own time. She plays games 2 hours every day. That's it, 2 hours every day. No more. Sometimes less. Like, if it's a holiday and she's out of the house or we're doing something, like, we don't squeeze it in on a day where we've been out at an event. We just skip it for that day. But most of the time she gets her 2 hours of gaming a day, just so she feels like she's gotten the chance to do what she wants to do. And then it's all scheduled. I have everything down to like This time we do this, this time we do this, this time we do this. Because routines are important, especially when you're a kid. Routines are important. It gets you into the practice of doing things at set times, in set ways. And she's got gaps in there. Like, she'll have her game time, her meal times, her bedtime, and she'll have her playtime in between, where she'll do whatever she wants. She can either come down and chat at me, or she can draw stuff, or she can do whatever she wants to do. And I think that's fair. You coming over for the housewarming party? It goes on till question mark. Oh, my drink is empty and I'm grouchy now. Not super grouchy, but I'm grouchy about it. What are you doing, cat? You stink. You stink. These cats are gassy. Let me tell you. Every cat in this house is gassy. I have chatted a lot. My throat is sore from talking so much. How much? Oh, man, I got so much still to do. They're all at 94. I might not make it to 95. I might have to skip it for tonight. I don't know. We'll see. I'll go a few more minutes. I'll go for 15 more minutes over my hour because I started later. Because I don't have, like, set times because I can't just plan out. Like, I can't just be like, okay, everybody, I need to do my gaming time at this time. Other people have their own schedules in the house, so that's how they do it. These flies don't want to leave me alone. The flies, in case anybody wonders, are like, oh, I've watched your stream, you always have flies. What? Your house must be filthy. It's not. It's that, and I'm fixing this in a couple days. My hot water tank has been leaking. It's been leaking for several weeks because I have not had the money to replace it yet. So it's been leaking every time you turn it on. And it leaks in the basement. The basement is where the cats have their litter box. So no matter where I move it to, there's always the chance that the cats might get grouchy because they don't like things being moved. And they'll go and they'll just go on the floor. And I won't see it immediately. I'll have to go turn on the hot water tank for something. Because I don't want it to leak all the time, so I only turn it on when I need it. And so, because I don't get to everything, flies get into it. And they breed and they make mess and it's gross. And they come upstairs through the drains. I'm replacing the hot water tank in 2 or 3 days. I'm putting the order in tomorrow so that it can get delivered either Monday or Tuesday. So I'm fixing that problem. The pipes here are really bad, like the sewer is really bad here. And the flies aren't just, it's not just because of the basement being dirty. The basement, because there's not hot water generally in the taps when I'm like washing dishes or doing whatever, because I don't want to have it leaking in the basement and have a huge mess when I do that. I only turn it on for showers, really. So I wash the dishes with cold water most of the time. Or I boil water on the stove and put it in the sink. And because of that, because there's no hot water going down the drains, it's not cleaning out the stuff that accumulates in the drains as you flush things out. So that means there's a buildup of just rotting stuff in the pipes, which is gross. But if you're a homeowner, you find out. And so, of course, when you get that, you get flies because they come in from underground, and they come from in the sewer, and they come up the pipes, and then they just get into your house through the sink drains. Once the hot water tank is replaced, I won't have any leaks, so I won't have to worry about that, and I won't have to worry about not having hot water in the sinks, so the sinks will be able to flush out the stuff effectively, and the flies can't breed. It's gross, I know, it's disgusting, but that's what you gotta live with if you're a homeowner. And sometimes you don't have the money to replace stuff. Oh yeah, I get criticals on here for 9999. So anyway, yeah, hot water tank. By the way, do not think you're gonna be like, hey, I'm getting you a hot water tank for your birthday, because they're like, it's like $600+ for this thing. I gotta do it in payments. That's why I had to wait, because I had to make sure I had enough for the payments scheduled. I'm doing it with like PayPal Pay in 4 or something like that. They're not cheap. Don't be thinking about spending more money for a water heater. Like, don't be doing that. That's crazy talk. Crazy talk out here in the chat room. If you're on YouTube, you won't have any idea. But except it's not. It isn't. It's certainly not January or December. What kind of people have birthdays around then anyway? It's a terrible time to have a birthday. I was able to get my car battery ordered today because I haven't had a car battery for the last month and a half. Because my battery died and we didn't have money for that. Because for my vehicle, it's an SUV, so it's $170 plus, depending on where you get it from for a car battery. Didn't have enough for that, but now we do. We're back on track. That's coming next week sometime, I think. Because right now we've just been using her car. Which means when she's at work, I can't go anywhere. Can't take the kid out anywhere, can't do nothing. It's not in November either. It's not in any of the months that you're going to guess. You can go month by month, all 12 months, and I'm going to tell you, that's not my birthday. I am eternal. I've never had a birthday. I've always been here. No, it's not it. You know, you'd have to guess all 365 days, so that's 365 guesses. And I would say no to all of them. One thing about me is that I have conviction. I have willpower that goes on for amazing stretches. Like, my willpower is ridiculous. I have willpower as such that if I wanted to smoke a cigarette, I could get a pack, smoke through it over the course of a week or so, and then say I don't want to smoke anymore. Put it down, be done. And not touch it for another 10 years. Because I can do that. That's just one example, anyway. Because I used to do that sometimes. I used to get like a pack of cigarettes once in a while because I'd go and if I was out with friends who smoked, I'd be like, all right, yeah, and I'll have a smoke with you. I think it's kind of that. So I'd have mine handy, so I didn't just bum off everybody else. But I never really needed to, and I've never felt like I had to have it. Like, the nicotine never got to me in a way that was kind of like, oh, I need another hit of nicotine. Oh, I'm cold turkey. I don't get withdrawals from nicotine. I don't know if maybe I'm just ignoring the symptoms and I always have them all the time, or it just doesn't affect me. I'm kind of a jerk that way. We're almost there. Almost to 95, and then we'll be done. Almost to 95. Because I gotta refill my glass anyway, so. I gotta refill my glass. Fun fact, um, I'm going to keep playing games probably for the next like 4 hours minimum. Like I only stream for an hour and then I keep playing games after that because I don't like to be entertaining for that long. I don't have the I don't have the energy to be entertaining that long and to keep talking like this for more than an hour at a time. That's why almost every one of my shows and various things is an hour or less because I just can't do it anymore. I used to do radio shows for like 3 hours. 4 hours, actually. One of the shows was 4 hours long, I think. I don't know. I think I had a show that was 4 hours long when I first got started, but maybe it was 3 or maybe it was 2. But now everything's an hour or less. Attention spans, mostly. You know, people don't want to tune in for longer than that, but I think if you have other people to talk to, you can talk longer, and shows can go longer as long as you have stuff to talk about. Like the old show that I started on that used to be good until it got to be crap because the owner is a crap person. We had some really good shows. Excellent shows. They were fantastic. We had a lot of good guests. Talked about a lot of fun stuff. Had a lot of fun. Until she turned out to be a sociopath. And she turned out to be just self-defeating and self-destructive and just problematic. And she's still that way now. She pretends she isn't. She's gone to therapy and all these other things that she says, and I don't see a difference. She talks the same way. She acts the same way. She just wants people to forget. 95. So we've only got 4 more levels before I can finish the end game of Final Fantasy V. This game has taken the longest out of all of them, only because of this part. The rest of the game has been fun. I liked the story for this one for the most part. There's been some goofy moments, but I liked this one better than I liked 3 and 4. So far, my ranking of just the first 5, if I was going to rate it before I finished it, which is treacherous, would be 1, 2, 5, then 3 and 4. I did not like 4. Oh my gosh, I did not like 4. But we'll see how 6 does after I finish this one. 95. Perfect. Okay, so that's it. So, once again, if you're on Twitch, make sure you go and follow Deadpool Head. He's in the comments in the chat right here. If you're on YouTube, please follow me. Subscribe to my channel, Spider Does Things. Watch some videos, drop some likes. Fantastic growth in the last month or so. Really appreciate everybody who's been tuning in. Thanks a lot. And I'll see you folks tomorrow. Have a good night.